Now, let's welcome Shane, the CEO of Matrak, to introduce Matrak's fully automated AI carbon tracking system.
So thank you everybody today. First to get started, I thought it would be very helpful for us to look at some of the other areas where partnerships between Australia and China have been really successful in the path to decarbonisation. So going back about 10 years ago in Australia, we had a very limited amount of solar energy that was actually being produced. There was sitting at about just under 2% of all of the energy in Australia was coming from solar power. Within a 10-year period, that leapt dramatically, dropping from less than 2% up to 80% of our energy production coming from solar power, and that has moved us up to about 40% of our of our energy usage nationally coming from solar. And so, as many Australians will know, that rapid development has actually led to Australia being one of the leaders in solar power per capita in the world. We're number one by a significant margin in terms of that solar deployment that we have nationally. One thing that many people may not be aware of, though, is that actually 9% of the solar panels that are being used in Australia were manufactured in China. And so it really is a sign of for the energy industry that being able to have that partnership between different companies has been able to lead to us collectively achieving things that we wouldn't be able to do otherwise. And so hopefully that's very helpful in terms of our ambitions today for the building materials and construction industry. We'll obviously be sharing a lot of information with all of the participants online, but we're obviously hoping to reproduce that success, but within constructions as well. So the construction industry is built on connections between developers and designers at the start, all the way through the general contractors, subcontractors, and to the global manufacturing base that produces the products that make buildings. And so Matrak's goal is really about supercharging these connections, making it easy for companies to collaborate and build that trusted relationship so that it becomes very easy for us to move to this low carbon future. So I'll give a very brief background around Matrak and how we started, and then I'll spend a little bit of time on some of the recent research around the barriers for adopting low carbon building materials. And then I'll also show a preview about new technology, which really makes it a lot more easy for companies to be able to collaborate and manage carbon for graphics. So Matrak began when my brother and co-founder was working to do his Masters of Artificial Intelligence while also working for our father's facade and installation company on high-rise projects, as well as aluminium facades. The challenge that he had was that even though his education was all around this high-tech artificial intelligence work, on the ground you had tens of millions of dollars of facade panels that were being managed on pieces of paper and between different stakeholders. And so from those very first projects, we had a direct connection with the manufacturers in China to be able to get that information around the products that were being packed, manufactured, shipped, and quality inspected. And actually by our second ever customer that we had, we saw that today, they actually asked for the whole system to be translated into Chinese so that it could actually be used on the factory floor to track the production and quality in situ. And this was really the basis of the materials passports that we've been creating so that we can have that information about the sourcing, the carbon, the specifications of all products all the way through their life cycle before they're finally delivered to the completed project. Since those very humble beginnings, we're now working with over 1,000 companies on a Matrak network, sharing this information about the construction products that they're working on, including many of the most growers in Australia, as well as over 100 suppliers in China as well, and up as well. That includes over 750 construction projects, and we're very proud that as of today, we're on nearly 20% of the major projects in both Australia and in Hong Kong as well. And based on some of the technologies that we'll be showing you as part of today's presentation, our goal is actually to get close to 100% of major projects in Australia by the end of next year. And that means that anytime builders and developers in Australia want to know the information about the carbon and the provenance of particular products, they'll have all of that information in one place. And similarly, for manufacturers and suppliers building those relationships with major builders in Australia, they'll also have a single way to be able to coordinate. And so it's also extended to our office in Suzhou, which we opened last year, and then a new office that we're in the process of setting up in Barcelona as well. So in terms of the challenges that the Australian construction industry faces in work with low carbon products, there's been some fantastic resources generated by the New South Wales government and also by Materials and Embodied Carbon Leadership Association to go identify and solve some of the big pain points. And so the top 6 that were identified, I'll just touch on very briefly. One is a lack of clear benchmarks to be able to assess the carbon for a given project. That spans from the very beginning of a project, understanding from the early design stages and pre-award stages what the carbon budget is for the project, through to a lack of standardization around understanding specific products and how to measure them in terms of the as-built building. So in summary, there's a couple of technical challenges that we're looking to solve as part of our business. Specifically, things around supply chain limitations, the understanding of benchmarking, and actually making a lot more of this information automated in terms of accessing it and being able to use it on specific projects, which are hoping to help with some budget constraints. Obviously, partnerships like through CBMF and many of the suppliers, particularly with the 6-0 approach to construction. These are all methods that suppliers are taking to be able to reduce the cost and budget constraints so that as low carbon products are identified, the barrier is not getting the budget available to actually use them. And then in terms of some of the other challenges for knowledge adapts and lack of authority in terms of the people on project sites, we see a lot of this is coming from the fact that low carbon products are often treated as a separate procurement stream. You may have specialists, sustainability teams who have a goal of being able to hit the particular production targets. But it means that the ways that they're trying to identify and build relationships with new suppliers is actually different to the way that typical subcontractor tendering works. And so we're hoping that by make it easier for more manufacturers to actually engage through the standard tendering process and making a lot of that carbon information more available upfront, it will be more consolidated. And so essentially, in summary, we're just trying to solve a lot of these challenges. And so what we want to present today is how our automated system is able to solve 5 of these key 40 carbon challenges. Specifically for the carbon benchmarking, at the moment, a huge amount of specialist knowledge is required. And what it means is that the subcontractors who are normally responsible for being able to deliver projects and provide all of the information about product specifications may not even have the knowledge or access to be able to provide carbon data. And so we're looking to automate some of those challenges, understanding the carbon budget for projects before the main contractor is awarded based on the initial BOQs, being able to identify all of the products based on the final IFC version of the building in order to give that finalized version of the carbon budget, then being able to access the data through from the manufacturers and also to be able to coordinate to schedule so that we can build that confidence in both the overseas supply side and also from a electrical project management side. So at the moment, all of these challenges are things that may take individual projects weeks to be able to solve. And so we're looking to be able to solve all of that in a matter of minutes instead of weeks.
So I'm just going to show in practice how we can automate a large chunk of what would normally take weeks to do. So I'm just going to quickly step through this process. So I'm going to, so in terms of the process of getting the industry benchmarks to be able to track a project to begin with. So currently the standard ways of doing that are through either industry reports such as EC3 or Neighbours databases that show all of the typical carbon for typical products. And so I've just uploaded one of those, which I'll be able to show in a second. We've also uploaded the pre-award BOQs for context there. So I'll just quickly share these. So for a typical project, in order to get an estimate of the carbon that will go into it, you need to get these EPDs if you're not using one of the existing databases. And as you can see, they're very technical and quite cumbersome to read and demystify. And we can see that on this particular report, we've got this page which says the embodied carbon for this one particular product. But as you can imagine, being able to do that across a whole range of different products is very time consuming. I've also got a sample of the like a pre-award BOQ, which looks like this with all of the different expected products, dimensions and details of all of the products that will go into the final building. So this is generally created by the quantity surveyor before the builder is appointed. And then if they need to figure out the expected carbon for this project, they need to get those EPDs or Neighbours databases that I just showed you and link it to this, which is very time consuming. And then to figure out the carbon of the actual products that have been shipped once you've appointed a subcontractor and a manufacturer. This is a typical packing list that might be created and sent by manufacturer in Zhuhai, which has, for instance, these flooring products that have different dimensions and different weights. And so to calculate the actual carbon in this container worth of products, that all needs to be linked back to those EPDs and calculated on a per product basis, which is obviously extremely time consuming and just frankly doesn't get done for any projects really. Apologies, Will, I think we're actually almost out of time. So maybe we can send the translated version afterwards instead, if that's okay with everyone. Yeah. Oh, cool. Thanks. So basically there's and then the last piece is that we have the same challenge also with the construction schedule. So particularly when we're building new relationships between new manufacturers that provide these low carbon products, building that confidence that everybody is delivering to the construction schedule is really critical. And so being able to link production to the Australian schedule, even as those dates change potentially on a weekly or fortnightly basis, is also really critical. And that is a big challenge that the industry faces. So if I quickly jump back to the demonstration. So basically what this system has now done is read these different documents that have been ingested. We can see the pre-award contract has been loaded. We've got the various pages of the construction schedule. We've got the flow and packing list, and for the clay bricks, we've got the one page that actually has the embodied carbon information here. And so that's all able to be imported. And so show what that looks like in practice. So here, for the overall project, our AI system was able to read through, in this instance, 77 different EPDs to be able to identify the different products in every single one of those EPDs, and then actually pull out all of the detailed carbon information for each one, so that we have a central repository of all of the different products without needing that specialist knowledge. Based on that, it's able to link it to the actual bill of quantities for the overall project. So we can see the different parts of the project, and on the right-hand side, we can see the actual fossil fuel GWP or global warming potential, and including the total as well. And then that's broken out into every single individual product so that we can see specifically what the carbon is for each item in that bill of quantities, and get the overall project carbon budget with no effort. That includes, so for the one that we just loaded as an example, that includes being able to show the AI's own decision making. So for instance, we've linked the products that were loaded to these particular EPDs to work out the carbon. We've got the confidence level, and then the AI even shares its reasoning and how it does the calculation to come up with that final carbon amount. And then that also includes tracking the carbon down to the individual product as we get the packing lists for individual items. So here we've matched it to some neighbors, to a neighbor's rating, and we've come up with the per product carbon calculation. And then it's the same with the construction schedule. So basically all of this information that would normally take weeks and would really be one of the big barriers preventing Australian businesses from partnering with low carbon suppliers overseas, can actually be done in a few minutes. And what's particularly exciting about this for us, I just go back to my presentation. So you just saw me do that by hand. I uploaded a few drawings or documents, and that was able to do those calculations. The way that our Matrak Connect solution works is that it actually is able to fetch all of the information directly from the source. So we don't even need builders to be able to have to go in and do these calculations by hand. As long as the data is being received from the manufacturers in China, it's able to do all of those calculations and produce that information completely autonomously. So we see this as a huge impact on being able to solve some of those barriers to low carbon products. And we're also, and specifically to be able to solve these challenges all the way through the supply chain. So you really do have that source to site carbon access. We're also very pleased to be making that available to all of our customers from the end of this year, including on our free tier. So we've been part of MECLA for about 5 years, and these challenges, these barriers to using low carbon products have come up again and again. So we really just want to solve it once and for all and make this available to anyone in the construction industry so that they can start partnering and solve these challenges. So I guess in terms of what's next, so our recommendation particularly for the people online is to be able to leverage the relationships from these forums, the suppliers that we have in this room, the industry bodies and CBMF in particular, to be able to make it easier to find these low carbon products. In terms of the suppliers, our system is able to help you tender for projects by identifying those BOQs much more easily and help build those relationships as well. So we're very happy to work with you on that. And if anyone would like any early access to this AI solution that we've just presented, you can scan the QR code or reach out to us as well. Thank you very much for your time today. Thanks.